Okay, so what does a person make of regional sicknesses? Because I've experienced a wide variety of sicknesses just traveling across the U.S. that are specific for the regions. For example, in Wisconsin, northern Wisconsin, oh, I would get terrible nosebleeds in the winter time. Oh, that was awful. I just sneeze out globs of blood at times because it got so dry. Inside the house, moisture just gets sucked out when you heat up the house in that negative 30-degree weather. The colder it got, the worse it got. It got really dry. There might be like 5 feet of snow outside, but you're still just suffering. You could barely breathe. I bought a humidifier, and I just pull a chair up right next to it and just breathe in that moisture because it was really necessary. It was just a tiny one, so it only got so far. But that's specific. That's specific for the area. I suffered that in that area. Now I never suffered it in the desert. Never really got any major bloody noses in the desert. So it's real specific. That's temperature wise though, and moisture. That's moisture and temperature. But what about like bacteria? What about certain pathogens that can infect you and that are specific to certain regions? Because it's like, certain animals are specific for certain regions. Plants are specific for certain regions. I think that bacteria and a lot of other pathogens are also specific. Even though, the states aren't individual islands, but there are some barriers that certain animals and plants really don't cross. They're just, you see that as you travel. It seems like practically a line of vegetation. Is just like all of a sudden you're driving along and the vegetation just makes a sudden change, and you just I don't understand exactly how all that happens. I mean, you'll see the mountain peak and I'll see trees on one side of it and barren landscape on the other. That's clear. But if it's just flat plains and suddenly the vegetation makes a complete changeover, that's interesting. That's another effect. I mean, you got the rain shadow effects and the sun. The elevations will affect certain vegetation differences. But well, how does it affect your health though? That's a thing. I have to first blame my diet and my own constitution, my exercise. But I mean, regionally, there has to be some effects too. Like I was struggling. See, the thing is, I was struggling with my heart throughout Idaho to Washington. But that seemed like maybe it was my personal habits, not having enough omega-3s in my diet, which I haven't really consumed much fish lately. My heart seems fine. Seems like parsley is actually helping a lot more. It's like any irregular beats, parsley really seems to knock that out. But the squishy feeling in the heart, omega-3s seem to do it. But if I got the omega-3 supplement, that hurts my gut. It takes about 2 days. It doesn't take long, and it's just like an acid, and it eats away at the intestines, the lower intestines, really painfully. Had to stop that. And the warning was that it could cause intestinal cancer. So omega-3s are like something you balance. It's maybe so healthy for the heart, but that's the thing. If it's healthy for one organ, it may not be so healthy for the next. For the other one, for another one. It's really a strange balance there. The best way to balance that is with whole foods, of course, not these supplements. I don't take supplements. I don't take any medications. It's just all whole foods. I'm just trying to get a variety with that. But I noticed my health changes. I mean, on the coast, on the Pacific coast, when I was up in Oregon, and it's just rainy every day. Rain every day for a week, for more than a week, and I'd be cooped up in this car struggling with breathing. And that's a moisture issue. That's just a constant moisture issue. And I mean, that was tough. That was really tough. Um, that breeds different kinds of pathogens and stuff. How do you deal with that differently? I got mold. I've had to throw away a lot of clothes because of the mold issues being along the coast. That problem, the moisture and stuff, seems to really start about Eureka in California. Eureka, California. Actually, a little bit further south of Eureka. There's just like this cloud that they're just this weather pattern where it's just always rainy and stuff. South of Eureka, just like maybe a half hour south, you get more dry climates in the California, along the California coast, and that yields a different kind of health effects as well. It's just it's just interesting how it all plays out. It's just like a lot of it's my habit, but a lot of it's also the regional thing. Like, I'm still stunned being in having gone through southern Arizona and southern New Mexico and having a stomach sickness I have never felt before. And now I get up to the more northern regions of New Mexico, up into Colorado areas, and it's been 5 days and my stomach's good. I'm falling back into my old eating habits again. I'm trying to watch my stomach just in case, but I don't mind. I don't want to get into the bad routine of eating too many peanuts, for example. That's part of my old habits, and I just got a lot more. I'm trying not to eat too many. I'm trying to get more variety, because that could be part of the problem, but it could be regional. It really gets me curious. What's happening in the region? Is there certain plants that cause effects that others don't? I mean, yeah, there's certain plants like saguaros. The saguaro cactus only grows in the certain region. So there's certain diseases and climates that kill it off. I mean, the temperature stays about the same for outside of the saguaro zone. So what's the difference? Maybe there's certain diseases or something that they just no longer can resist outside of a certain point. It's really curious how that works. And just having access to particular herbs and stuff in some regions, like I don't know. I see catnip growing in New Mexico. I see a lot of dandelion. Dandelion spreads around. There's some plants that really seem, well, I mean, dandelion can't really live in the desert unless if there's a lot of man-made irrigation. So access to dandelion leaves and roots, that can have an effect, because I'm more likely to reach for a dandelion and try to do something with it, make a tea out of it or something. If it's more readily available, like a weed, unlike other places where it's less readily available. So that's going to affect my diet a little bit. Like, walking through a forest and finding all kinds of berries of some kind, blackberries, possibly raspberries. Along the coast, there's a lot of salal berries, but that's not till July. They're delicious. They're unique. You don't see them anywhere else. They grow on the coast. I got a weak. It feels like such a weak argument saying that regions will affect your health. The elevation, the moisture, the heat. I mean, there's those are factors. Those are real factors. But to attribute them to actual sickness, I mean, back in the old days, you read about how the cowboys would be told, hey, told by a doctor, just go to, you got tuberculosis, go to the southwest where it's dry. That'll make it easier on your breathing. A lot of moisture, a lot of high moisture areas when people's health start failing, they're told to go to drier climates. There's that for sure. There's a lot of factors. If you're feeling cold all the time, go to warmer climates. There are those factors, and they don't seem to be recommended as much today. The doctors don't want you moving away. They don't want to recommend somebody who can actually afford their services to move away. So I don't think you hear that recommendation as much as you did back in the old days. But I think regionally changing your regions is going to affect your health in unpredictable ways. I had no idea I'd get a stomach sickness in such a prolonged fashion as I did in that deep southwest area. Going into Mexico, and you hear about how Mexico, they got like this bug that can give you stomach problems. All right, I think if you even get close to the border, it like blends over the border in some ways. But it's just it's an unseeing, unidentifiable like health effect that nobody really talks about. I'm feeling it as I go across from state to state. How is the East Coast? I bet the East Coast has got some unique health effects people just kind of get used to, who stick around the area for long periods. They're lifelong in a lot of ways. I mean, they just assume that's the way it's always is, probably for everywhere, and it's not. I don't think that's quite the case. I think there's really are unique things, and I think that affects people's personality too. What if people are getting sick in like Albuquerque, and possibly, I didn't feel the sickness in Phoenix, but what if people were suffering the same sickness, but they're just more used to it, and their habits change to overcome their stomach problems? Could that affect their psychology too? Is that why maybe it was a little more lawless? People were just a little more cutthroat. I mean, I can't believe the audacity of somebody breaking my sunroof and stealing, like, I don't know, near $500 worth of things from my car. The audacity of that. And it's just, you look in the news for Albuquerque, it's crazy. I think maybe the health of the region. And just not far north of that, you start smelling these cross flowers. They're really strong crayon type smell. That's when I started smelling those, and that's the moment when my stomach sickness started going away. I could try to retest my health effects by actually going back south and seeing if the stomach illness returns. That's the best way to test that out, but I'm not too interested in that as the heat rises. That'll be years before I go back down there, since I want to check out other places too. But it's really interesting to me. I think that maybe the rocks are emitting some certain properties. The water, there's just such different compositions of rocks and stuff and in the environments that have unique formulas that give different effects. I mean, why else on flat ground? Why else would vegetation just make an instant change from one kind of vegetation to the next? It's like a line is drawn there. And it seems like maybe the soil is affecting that in some ways. It's just climate, soil, elevation, moisture, the heat, cold. There's such a mixture across just across the United States that's unique for the regions. It's just it's hard to explain. This is all just non-professional observing and trying to make sense of it, but I don't know how you can.